Hello. This week I'm going to start work on my Commando Army and get these painted. They've jumped the gun really because I've got an American army and some Rangers that are waiting to be painted as well. But on the basis I've got some that are already complete, I thought I'd just get these done first. Now, all I've done so far is I've given it a grey primer, and you can probably see that I've also give it a prime of brown towards the bottom. That was really just to colour the base, to give it, just to get it ready for when I'm painting it, really. But it's not something I'd normally bother with, but I thought, might as well. So, basically, I'm just going to go with a reasonably standard, get them to the table finish. I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm not going to, I'm not a professional painter by any stretch or even close to it. And I'm certainly not capable of painting pupils in the eyes. I just can't even see it. So I'm just going to do the best that I can on these. And the good thing about these Commandos is I can start with an all-over colour for the uniform, which psychologically makes you feel like you've got a lot further than you have. So that's what I'm going to be cracking on with first. And for that, I'm going to be using this Vallejo. It's, for people who follow the numbers, it's 70.921. And it's on this one, it says Uniform Ingles, so English uniform. So that's what I'm going to start with on all of these, and I tend to just go through it as a batch. I just find it easier for me to do it like that. Some people break it down and just do sets of 10 and go through them like that. But for me, I can sit here listening to a podcast and just carry on. I've got me little magnifying glass, which helps me as well now, especially with my eyes. And I can, get this uniform painted up, hopefully fairly quickly. And while I'm doing it, listen to a podcast. Right, I'm going to crack on with these, and then when I've got through them all, I'll bring you back and I'll just show you, what they're looking like so far, and then we'll move on to another stage. So in your time, it's going to be very quick. In my time, maybe one or two podcasts. All right then, I'll see you soon. Right, so I've gone through these and I've given them all, let's bring one up closer, the all over coat of the British uniform. I've not been too careful with that. It doesn't matter if I catch a few things because I'm going to be going over it. The main thing is to keep it a fairly thin coat, which is what I've aimed for. As I say, I must admit my painting skills are not great these days. And I'm finding, I don't know whether it's since I had the procedure done or what, but my perspective seems to have gone. So I'm finding close work really difficult at the minute. But what I've done is I've looked back at these that I already had. And if I bring this one up, let me try and put my hand behind that. One thing I've noticed, I can't remember why or how this happened, but I've not actually done the painting on the straps on his bag. And I'm not even totally sure what that colour was. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to retouch all these that I've got and bring them to a standard and paint them You know, I'm going to go over some of the paints. Not the main uniform, that's fine. Probably the rifle's fine, the face is fine. It's just really the straps and things that need touching up on these that were painted. And I might as well go for a universal colour on them all as well, because I know on the leaflet Warlord include, they suggest army green for these bags on the back. But to be honest, you know, looking around on the net, I've seen a variety of photographs and they all indicate different colours. Some have got them really light coloured. But that said, it looks effective with the army green colour, so I'm going to kind of stick with that. But what I am going to do is, you know, just give it a bit more fine detail and put some straps on there in khaki. And I think at that I'm probably going to go with the army green on the back. Although in some ways I think khaki would look probably better. As you can see, I'm having a bit of a wobble here. I'm not quite sure which way to go. Anyway, I'm going to address them first. And when I've done all the bags, I'll bring you back. Well, after quite a bit of prevaricating, really, I went with the option repainting these as well. You know, the pre-painted ones I'd already done. And I've gone for khaki. I looked all around the internet and I saw several pictures. There were some colourised Second World War pictures of the Commandos, but it seemed like each person that colourised the photo used different colours to go with. So in the end, I looked up some old uniforms, you know, like museum pieces, and I've decided basically I'm just going to go with my gut instinct. And my gut instinct was that the bags would look good in like a khaki colour. And then I'm going to pick out the straps and then of course the webbing on the front. And the front ones, I'm going to pick that out in army green. There's a few other bits on some of the bags, like there's an axe on some of them, but I'll come to that later. So for the time being, I've gone through all of these. I've painted all of the bags in khaki colour, you know, to standardise them. And I think, as I say, I'm going to go with the army green for the webbing and everything, and the straps on the bag. So that's what I'm going to work through now. If I bring these up, you can see what the bags are looking like now. I mean, obviously I'll be giving these a wash as well, so that's going to tone them down. And I'm thinking I'm going to go with like a darker wash on the uniform, but on these I'll probably go for a strong tone wash on the bag. Possibly light tone, but I think strong tone will be better. And the other thing that I'm going to need to do is obviously on the ones that I've only just started, obviously there'll be the ropes to pick out and some of the other little bits to pick out. Oh, and the other thing that I've noticed is this tool, I'm going to pick that out in the army green as well. So that will tie those things together then. Right, I'm going to work my way through all of these. This is going to take me some time. So again, it'll be a long time for me, but a short time for you. I'm going to get all this webbing painted up now in army green, and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I've been quite busy, and I've managed to go through all of the figures now, and all the khaki backpacks are done. I've touched up some of the smaller bits like the blankets on some of the backpacks, and I've also painted all of them. If I grab one, let's grab one that's a bit more open that you can see. This one. If I put them down a minute. Let's put the light on him. So I've done all the green webbing and straps and the front ammo pouches, and then I've also highlighted with the green all the straps on the backpack, and I've gone through the entire army, including, if I bring them in, the ones that I'd already got painted. I've gone back over those to make them matching with my new colours, and brought them all up to the same standard. Now the other thing that I've done is I've painted up my Lord Lovat's, and as I said, I've gone for the as he was dressed uniform, and then the jumper underneath, and then as he's depicted in The Longest Day. I mean, obviously these are all colours that I've just put on. They've not been washed or anything yet, so they won't look like this when they're finished. Now the other thing that I've had a dabble at, and this was a rare treat for me because, as you know, when we're painting Second World War, it's normally, you know, variants of green, variants of brown, and you look at your colour paints and think, will I ever use them? So this was a little treat, and I've painted up Piper Milling, and I got a bit carried away with the colours. Now, bear in mind, I'm not overly familiar with kilts, being assassinate, but I've tried to do as close as my wobbly hand and poor eyesight will go to do some kind of Cameron kilt there. And everywhere I look for references, there seem to be a different combination of colours. So in the end, I just thought, no, I'm going to go with what I think and what looks right on the figure. Now, and it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but that's my interpretation of it. Again, obviously, it'll be dressed down a bit when it's had a wash and things, so I ain't done any of the washes on this yet. The red strapping on there, I just took from a painting that someone had done of Milling, and I don't know whether it was accurate because I've seen it in green, I've seen it in braided yellow and red, I've seen it in all colours. But at the end of the day, if somebody's going to look at my army and say, you've done that wrong, I can live with that, because I'm just relieved that everything's not wrong. So, but it was a nice treat to be able to use some bright colours for a change. So that's Piper Milling in kilt. And then obviously I've done in uniform as well, and I've made that one a little bit tamer because it doesn't have any of the strapping on detailed on the model. The only thing that I've done that's a bit different, but I'm glad I've done it in a way, I hope it's not lost too much when it comes to the varnishing stages, I opted for a gloss black for the pipes themselves. And I like how that stands out, so it'd be interesting to see if it actually stands up to the varnish at the end. But I kind of jumped the gun with these four figures and got ahead of myself a bit. So I'm sorry I didn't bring you along for the journey. But I'm hoping that you know, it doesn't offend anybody. That's the main thing. Yeah, I know it can be. It's probably wrong, but we know it's meant to be. I'm not one for getting too, you know. I remember when I first set out on bolt action, and I was asking people because I'd bought the. I'm rambling a bit, but bear with me. I bought the American Airborne first because I was a big fan of Band of Brothers, and I duly painted them up as the way it's suggested in the box, and what other references I could find on the internet. And I think it was one of my first ventures onto the net. I posted a couple of pictures of them, and said I'd just finished my American Airborne. And someone quickly pointed out, well, you've got the wrong uniforms there. Well, I knew they didn't look exactly like they did when they jumped out, but I was then given a full explanation of the two variants of the American uniform before it then went into third variants that appeared in the second half of the war and out in the Pacific. And being new to the game, I worried about it, and I thought, if I take these along and I want to do a D-Day thing and I play in a game, are people going to criticise me because I've got the wrong? Well, I've hardened up a bit since then. They're Americans, they're airborne, they do the job. I'm not going to paint 100 men again in a different uniform because I'm just not. So I've learnt to be a little bit braver now, and I've learnt to go with my own colouring and just stick with it. And it's like I've always said to people when I'm painting, there are always going to be people out there better than you. There are people that can paint the eyelashes on these figures. I am not one of them people. And at the end of the day, you're painting them to get them on the table and enjoy them. Or just enjoy the, painting, full stop. Collecting, whatever you do. And, don't let people put you off too much. If you're happy with them, that's good enough. And at the end of the day, even me, and I'm still pretty rubbish, you do get a little bit better over time. Do listen to some of the tips you get. There's some brilliant people out there that will give you a hand up. And you do improve. I mean, I've kind of hit that curve now and I'm starting to go back downhill because of my eyesight. But, don't be put off. If they look right to you, that's good enough. So that's my rant over with, really. I mean, the other thing that I've suggested that you might have heard me say about some of my terrain, I kind of go for, yes, I try and be historically correct where I can, but I also, and this is harking back to when I was a kid playing with soldiers, a lot of my references are old World War II movies, and sometimes I'm happy to go with a combination of old film portrayal and reality thrown in. In other words, if it looks the part, if it fits the bill, if it fits in with all my memories of World War II films and programmes, then that's good enough. And I'll leave the specialties to the people that describe themselves as pro painters. And undoubtedly they are pro painters, but we can't all be pro painters. So, you know, you've got to find that happy medium. Anyway, I've gabbled on too long. The next stage that I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking out the ropes on these soldiers. They're already done on those. So I'm going to be doing that. And picking out any other small wooden details or metal details on the backpacks. Which is a relatively small job, but I want to get it done before I start applying some of the washes. So I'll bring you back when that's done and we're about to do the washes. Right, I've decided to skip the rope for now. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be painting all the boots and the metal parts of the gun on each figure now. So that's going to take me quite a while. Right, I'll get that started and back again shortly. Right, so all of these are onto the same level now, and they're coming along okay. I've done some of the more fiddly bits that, you know, with my eyes I struggle with. But what I'm going to go on to now is all these ropes. Not all of them have got them, but most of them have got either the rope hanging there or hanging down or hanging across the top. So I'm going to do that next, and I'm going to be using Army Painter hemp rope. So right, I'll crack on with these and then I'll bring you back and we'll move on to some of the other pieces that we've listed. I was going to go with just the pure hemp rope, but what I've done now, I can't remember what colour these were when I did them, but I found the hemp rope, which I thought would be good, just too orange, you know, too in your face, too dark for rope. So what I've done is I've mixed it with a bit of a game colour bone white, which has kind of tamed it down. So that's where it's looking like. Put a bit of light on it. That's what it's looking like now, and I'm a lot happier with that. So I've done like a 50-50 mix of the bone white and the hemp, and that's looking more like rope to me. I mean, obviously it's going to need a wash on it, probably a soft brown, soft tone wash or something like that, but that's certainly looking more like something that looks like rope to me. I think the other one was, like I say, it's just too tan coloured. Right, I'll crack on, get them done, and then I'll bring you back. So I've cracked on through these now. Just bring him in. I'd forgot about the actual straps for the rifles, so I've just had to go through all of those as well. And what I went for with that is some combat fatigue, which I use a lot for that. So I've gone through them all and done that. And I've just sorted through this section, and I've come to the stage now where the only thing left on these figures is their skin, face and hands, their hat and hair, if there's any showing. But I've still got this little batch here. And basically what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be painting up the hand grenades, and for the actual hand grenade colour, the base colour, I'm going to use some Crypt Wraith from Army Painter. But then what I'm going to do to pick out the actual detail, I'm going to try and do a dry brush of some let's have a look, gunmetal. Now it's not going to show a great deal, but it'll just pick out the detail, because I don't want the hand grenades to look like little green I don't know, melons on the side of his thing. I need to see that, the individual sections. So I'm going to try and highlight it with some of the metallic gunmetal. Right, I'll crack on with that and then I'll bring you back. I'm not sure that this is going to show up because it is very small, but I've done the bit of dry brushing of the metallic across the grenade, and it's definitely picked out some nice detail. So I think I'm going to stick with that. You can't see it so much in the one he's got in his hand, but obviously I've still got the hands and that to paint, so. But yeah, on the whole, I'm pretty pleased with it. I mean, any wash I apply is going to add to the effect, so. Right, so finally it's time to start working on their skin. Of all the painting part, this is the bit I enjoy the most, because once I've got to this stage, I know they're going to suddenly start looking ready for the table. So what I'm going to go with, I do vary it sometimes, but for these I'm going to go with a base coat of tanned flesh by Army Painter, but then I'm going to highlight it, you know, like on the hands it'll be across the knuckles and fingers, and then on the nose, chin, lips, cheekbones, that kind of thing. I shall highlight that with Cobalt Skin by War Painter, Army Painter, sorry. So let's just get these out. And I think, to be honest, it's going to be best if I start with the faces and the hands, because the air's sitting over the top of that. So there's going to be the odd spillage, especially with me. My eyesight's not great. I might catch the face, but I think I'm going to find it a lot easier to put the faces on first and then add the air afterwards, and then finally the hat, beret. Right, let me crack on with a few and then I'll bring them back to you and let you have a look at how they're coming along. Right, so I've dashed ahead with these now. I've got all the skin done on all of these, and I've also painted up all the berries as well. The only thing that I've done a bit different this time is I normally do my washes as I go along, and I've left it this time. Whether that'll work out for me, I don't know, but I just wanted to try something different. Right, so I've done all my highlights now, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start the shading process. And for my washes, I'm going to do most of the uniform and the backpack, the boots, everything, the gun, everything bar the face and the berry really. I'm going to be doing in strong tone from Army Painter, but what I do is I mix this 50-50 with the quick shade mixing medium, because it just takes it down. It doesn't make it too, you know, too aggressive, you know, because I don't want to lose the colour of them and make them, you know, so dulled down you can't see all the paintwork. So 50-50 on them is what I'm going to go with. And I'm never very precise about this. Well, reasonably careful, but as you can see, look, I'm not staying in any lines. I'm just going over it and letting the wash do its thing. So when you get to this stage, you know, you're getting there. The only thing that I want to avoid is the skin, because I'm going to do a flesh wash on that, and a military shader on the berry as well. But everything else I'm just going over in one. So as you can see, it's going to be a fairly quick process. And that's the reason why, if you like, that I have gone for doing it this way. Because I used to do this for each section that I'd painted. Maybe you've got a bit more control if you do it that way. I'm only really looking for these to have a reasonable tabletop standard, you know, something that I'm happy with. I'm not trying to do anything, you know, I'm no pro painter. I know my limits. But I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that as a finish. Obviously, like I say, I've got to do the face and that yet, but when that starts sitting into all the creases, it'll bring out all the edges and things and give it that look. Just don't let it pull, you know, in great big blotches on the surface, because that'll ruin the look. But yeah, apart from that, that's it really. It's quite simple. And I should be able to plough through these pretty quick with that. And then the next thing will be, like I say, the faces and the hands, and then onto the berry. Right, I'll plough on with that and then I'll bring you back. I'm not sure you'll be able to see it, but the strong tone's done now. I think you can see it more on the backpacks. I've given them a little bit of drying time as well. And now I'm going to do a similar thing for all the skin, faces, hands. And what I've done with that one is I've gone for the, where is it? Army Painter Flesh Wash, and an equal amount of the Quick Shade Wash Mixing Medium again. So it's not too strong. And again, it's a fairly quick process. Just pick one. Don't have to be too careful. Any really obvious pooling, just wipe it down. You just want enough so it pulls in the right places, but not enough that you leave a big blotch on it. And then once you've given it that drying time, you'll see how it's picked out more of the detail on the face, and it looks the part then. Right, I'm going to crack on and get them done. And then I've just got the berries and comfort caps to do, and we're getting there. Right, the final wash. I'm going to do some military shader. Again, I'm not going to take this one down to 50-50. I'll probably put 2/3 military shader to 1/3 quick shade wash mixing medium. And I'm just going to basically focus on the berries and the cap comforters and just some of the green. Probably some of the weapons on these teams at the front. And that'll be it then. It's just a matter of letting them dry, and then I can look at the basing next. Right, I'll bring you back in a second. Well, you know you're nearly there when you get to this stage, basing. I'm going to keep the basing on my Commandos relatively simple. And I'm going to go with one of Geek Gaming's base ready mixes. This one is Patchy Plain Small, because I want it to be relatively simple so they'll fit into a variety of scenarios. I don't want to overdo it too much. So it's going to be quite a simple job really. I've got my basing glue, a small cheap brush that I can use to brush the glue in place. Well, I'll show you. I'll do the first one. So first of all, I'm going to just squeeze a little bit of glue out into my pot. Right. Obviously don't want to get it on the figure. If you do get a little bit on the figure, you can just wipe it off and brush it off when it's dried on. Right. And then all I do is I'm literally going to dip it in the pot. Give it a bit of a tap, just run around the edges. And there he is. So it's quite a simple job really. I'm quite happy with that. It's got a reasonably, you know, open style to it, so it's going to fit in a lot of scenarios really without jarring too much. So you can see how quick and simple that is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through the rest of these and then I'll bring you back and show you what they're looking like. Right, so I've gone through them all now. They've all got the basing on, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let them dry for a while, and then when they've dried I shall use a little bit of watered down PVA, little bit of ISO to break the tension so it soaks through, and I'll put it on with a eyedropper, little squeezy one. But as I say, I need them to dry first. I haven't made up my mind yet whether I'm going to have any tufts on these or not. I think I'll think about that, and when I've sealed them, then I'll have another look at it, I think. Right, I'll see you soon. Right, so the final part of basing my Commandos is just to put some sealant on it. Now, one thing I have changed since I spoke to you is I did decide to go with a few tufts. I just thought it'd bring them to life a little bit more. They looked a little bit too plain. I've not gone mad. I've only put one on each figure, some small, and then on the MMGs and that, I've put 3 or 4 on that because it's a bigger base, obviously. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do them 10 at a time, and I've got a little eye droplet of isopropanol, and I literally put a little squirt of that onto each figure, and then switch over to the glue one. And that's it. And as you can see, because of the isopropanol, it's took that glue right in. You see that? It's soaked in and not sat on the top. Right, so all of my Commandos are nicely based now, and I've sealed them all, so everything's nice and secure. So, as with others before them, it's time to apply their transfers. So, I'll take this first one. You've probably seen this before. I use a brush to just basically lift the transfers onto the figure. And then I use my green stuff with what do you call them, shaper sculptor, and it's got like a silicon top, and that actually grabs the transfer really well and allows you to manipulate it on the actual figure. So just push it where I want it. That's it. And then I tend to just dab it to get any moisture off it. And there it is. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm going to do all of the right arms as one sweep, and then I'll go back through it and do the left arms and any stripes that I want to add to these. Right. I'll crack on through these, and I'll bring you them back when they're done. Right, so they're all based. They've all got their decals on, and they've all been now varnished. So they're basically ready for action. Just doing a bit of free cam here. I will finish with a few pictures, you know, photographs to give you a better look at some of them. But it's good to get this army built. You know, it was a little while ago when I first put this together as my first version 3 army, if you like. But yeah, pretty pleased with the way they look. And I've still got the flexibility. I mean, I've set them out pretty much as I had them when I built them. But you know, there's lots of flexibility in there. I can swap and change it around, make smaller squads, whatever. So, yeah, pretty pleased. So, I'll wrap this one up with some photographs now. Right, so they're all complete. I'm no professional painter, as I've said, but hopefully you've found some interesting bits among this ramble of mine. If nothing else, you know, I'd just encourage you to give it a go and not to worry too much about, you know, the other people out there and how good theirs are. Just do the best you can, and you know, get something that you're satisfied with. Anyway, if you have enjoyed it, please consider giving me a thumbs up, or even subscribing for when the next video comes out. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.